Hey you, I'm Anissa. Welcome to Create to Liberate. Today's video is about finding happiness from humility. Oftentimes we go seeking things and experiences, people, places, things that we think will bring us happiness, that we think will make us feel good. And oftentimes what makes us the most happy is sinking into the contrast of experience. That's not to intentionally seek opportunities to inflict suffering upon ourselves, but I can get into what humbling ourselves does to support us in having deeper gratitude for the here and now. As always, I share wisdom from my own lived experience, as I believe we're all each other's mirrors. We provide a mirror to each other to be able to see ourselves more clearly and ideally empower each other. If you're listening on audio, leave a little review. If you're listening on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel. And without further ado, let's get into it. So this became relevant to me because I am feeling healthy and vital. Oftentimes, if you go through an experience of feeling sick, feeling not well, maybe you caught a minor cold, maybe you're going through a more major medical issue, you can come to realize in those moments that our greatest wealth is our health, our ability to feel health, vitality, energy, to feel our most expressed, expanded self also requires our body, our physical body to feel good. And I can get into the background story of this ultimately. I went to some event on Saturday at USC campus here in LA, and it was nearby USC campus. It was actually a yoga class. And after, went by the Trader Joe's and went to get some sponges from Target. And as I was reaching for a green juice, I was like, let me get this green juice. There was a university boy coming my way who sneezed this like wet blanket of a sneeze into my vicinity. And I was like, fuck. And his friend was like, bro, you're still sick? And I was like, fuck. Because I'm one of those people who can just kind of tell when it's one of those transactions that's likely to get one sick. Anyways, I grabbed my green juice. I was like, please let this be the nourishment, be cleansing enough, boost my immune system and recover from the wetness that was this infected sneeze. So it's less than 48 hours later, I'm feeling it already. I'm feeling some shortness of breath. I'm feeling some, sweating in my forehead and just all the symptoms, and spend time recovering. And when when you're sick, you know how it feels. It's just a rock bottom that if you're healthy regularly, you don't remember. And I am so blessed to not have been sick for almost over a year. My immune system's really strong. As long as somebody's not sneezing directly into my mouth, I'm taking really good care of myself. But oftentimes we forget that, the rich man wants more money. He wants this kind of like wealth of abundance of material things. And the sick man just wants health. And we are so blessed to be in bodies, to get to experience sensation, to move through the world with ease on a regular basis. And when you don't have that experience, it brings huge perspective that there isn't an amount of money sometimes in those moments that would heal anything. All we want is to feel good. All we want is to feel vital. And then on the other side of that experience, then we get to feel such deep gratitude and joy just for the everyday existence of being in our bodies, of just being able to take deep breaths, to focus on things with a mental clarity, to not feel pain. So these moments of deep suffering in everyday life, we often avoid them. An example is, yes, when you're sick, you can't really avoid that experience of suffering. You kind of have to embrace it and do your best to manage it, do all your efforts to recover. Hopefully it's not chronic. But in those moments, those are physical experiences of suffering that are inevitable in life. And then there's moments that we try to avoid, of emotional suffering, of mental suffering, right? Being challenged by a problem. Maybe it's in school, you wanted to take easier grades, but you know that the reality is if you take these shortcuts, if you avoid the challenging classes, the mental struggles and stressors, you're going to have outcomes that aren't as gratifying, that don't really feel as fulfilling, because you're skipping over this challenge that brings a deep level of purpose, deep level of enrichment to be challenged, to experience mental suffering of that specific kind, not all suffering. And then emotionally, let's think of examples. For instance, I've been dating for a while and I talk about it regularly. There's this desire to escape maybe the experience of going through dating people that are not good fits, because we just want to be in a relationship. Let's get it over with. Let's just choose somebody. They're a little codependent. Let's just enjoy each other's company, and it's okay. Let's forego our deeper desires of feeling seen and heard and fully understood. And then what do you end up with? A relationship that deteriorates and creates so much more suffering for you. And maybe in that relationship, you're not even fulfilled. So you're experiencing this yearning and suffering throughout the connection. And so that emotional suffering is so worth going through. It's so worth going through the emotional suffering of dating and really putting your heart out there and really allowing yourself to try again and again to live with an open heart in romantic context, in relationships with friends, etc. So these are moments that people want to bypass. We want to take easy paths away from these moments and opportunities for suffering. But these experiences of suffering humble us. They bring us into this deeper sense of humility, which makes us happier. On the other side of these experiences, whether it's trial and tribulation around some educational pursuit or this dating pursuit example, you feel very deeply fulfilled and purposeful. You'll feel deeper love for yourself. You'll actually feel so much more happiness, a happiness that's not fleeting, when you do things that expand you, that spread your wings at suffering for something greater, that makes you feel more alive. It's not worth suffering for things that are not additive to your life. It's worth choosing the right battles in life, the right challenges in life, to really show up for them, to really devote yourself, to be more devotional to the things that you love in this lifetime. And so oftentimes there's all this emphasis on how can you be more comfortable? How can life be more convenient? How could you be more perfected? That will make you feel good, right? There's a lot of marketing around, oh, if you get longer eyelashes, if you change something about your face, if you change something about your body, then you're going to feel better. No, true. Never very much the case. Oftentimes, there's a deeper thing at play. Oftentimes, there's some harder work that needs to take place. And that harder work might be acceptance of self. It might be so much easier to make a physical change to our appearance, and it's a lot harder to fully embrace and love yourself as you are. That might be so much more of a hurdle. And so I understand people moving towards cosmetic changes because they think it's expediting, but there's just going to be another thing that arises in life, whether it's physical appearance wise, whether it's emotional wise, whether it's mental wise. We're constantly faced with these battles and challenges, and we feel actually more fulfilled by rising to accept those challenges, rising up. And the being sick one really was nice for me to just be in this moment of exhaust, lethargy, just feeling like a shell of a human, to then feeling the contrast of feeling vital, feeling energized, able to take hikes and walks with ease, doing the things I love again, and being able to experience happiness again. We think happiness has to be the addition of things to our life, additive, more this, more that. Consumerism will tell you that too. But often the deepest happiness comes from subtraction. And then when that life thing that was just normalized to you comes back, you're like, whoa, this is amazing. Speaking of which, I'm planning to go camping this weekend, and I think this is going to be humbling. It's glamping. I haven't really been camping since early 20s. I haven't slept in an actual tent in the ground. I will get to that, but this is a good foray for me into that. And I was listening to a podcast recently that Tim Ferriss did on Know Thyself podcast, one of my favorite podcasts. Check it out. And in this podcast, he's saying that more often he's getting together with friends and doing these types of activities. And he connects with his friends most around those who are able to put themselves in these positions of deprivation or suffering, whether it's fasting, which is a classic way to create more metabolic support for ourselves. There's a lot of health benefits. You can look into it, but it's not fasting, and it has levels and it's different for everyone. But fasting is a form of deprivation that brings so much happiness. Camping, which I'm about to embark on, so some level of lifestyle deprivation, so you're really more connected with earth and the simplicity that we've moved away from through this Western culture, through colonialization, through this level of capitalism support, and there's so many conveniences to this way of life. But when you strip down to a simple way of living, you realize how little you need. You realize how much that you took for granted and how that's just wealth. We look at maybe living in a small one-bedroom apartment as, okay, I'm not really doing that well. I'm not living in a mansion. And then you realize you have walls that are insulated. You have heat. You can temperature control. You have bowls to eat out of that are like ceramic. You're not just using like a small tin or your hands. There's so many conveniences that you can just easily take for granted when you live in the civilized, convenient world that most of us occupy. And there's so many people who don't live in those conditions. So those who are tuning into this, if you have the ability to even have internet, you have the accessibility to watch things on a laptop or a phone, or listen on audio on Spotify, these platforms pay for streaming, etc. That's such a level of privilege. That's such a level of abundance. And we don't want to recognize the abundance we already have, because one of the hardest things for us to do is not compare ourselves to others. And when we do this habitual comparison, it's usually upward comparison, right? There's an ability to look at who has more. But if we just look at what we have, what's in front of you, literally what's in front of you, if you look around, all of that is a blessing. All of that deserves gratitude. And in this stripping away of getting to humility, we can realize a lot of gratitude for things in our physical life, for our health. Another thing is in relationships. Maybe you've gone through a period where you didn't have as many friends. And this is not like, don't talk to any friends and realize how being alone is beneficial. But I've had extended periods in solitude. And if you've done extended periods in solitude, you've maybe hit some rock bottoms as far as emotional deprivation. And you feel the loneliness of that. And that's actually a good thing in some regard. It reminds you how much fulfillment comes from our social connection, from feeling really deeply nourished by loved ones, from family and friends. And we no longer take for granted those little interactions even that you could have at the grocery store, just having some interaction with people. This was a big thing for me coming from New York City, where I had so many small interactions with people, and then moving to LA. I felt starved for social connection at times, because it wasn't the deep, heartfelt connections, but even just the small, little ones. I was so accustomed to having so many of these small, little interactions with acquaintances and strangers. And I took that for granted. I had a relationship with my super in my building. I had a relationship with, random people on the street. Who knew that that brought so much richness to life until it's removed? There's so many layers of social connection that aren't just maybe your best friends and your most loved family members. And it's just these small little interactions that are actually truly additive into your life. So often it's humility of contrast, these experiences of contrast. We mentioned being actually sick, which is not something I recommend, but fasting, camping, social deprivation through extended Vipassana retreat maybe, and being alone, etc. All of these moments, and you can think of them for yourself, all of these moments of challenge, feeling like you're dating and you're not getting the results you want and you're still single. These moments of deprivation in our romantic life, these experiences of not actually finishing our career. We're just at the beginning, or maybe we're in the educational level of a long, long career journey and it can feel stressful. All of these opportunities are humbling us to have more happiness in life from the deep gratitude for everything that is additive, everything that is outside of us, that is contributing to our well-being, to our feeling of love, to our feeling of richness. I don't know, I just feel so good. And I hope this message resonates with you when you start looking on social media and comparing yourself to people who seem to have so much more than you, so much more friends, so much more money, etc. For you to remember that you have so much abundance and so much to be grateful for. And sometimes just turning off that cellular device, getting off the apps, getting off the platforms, to remind yourself of all the goodness that is around you at all times. Call a friend. Just relish in the beauty of having a friend in this lifetime. And yeah, gratitude practices can sometimes be beautiful, about writing everything that we're grateful for, and sometimes they can be from having the experience of them not being present in our life. I'm thinking specifically to this upcoming camping trip. Wish me luck. I think I will become a camper. I think I will. This is a good foray. Anyways, I'm sending you so much love in the days ahead, so much feeling of your happiness, and maybe the contrast in these moments that we feel like we're being humbled and fuck, why don't I have what I want? And why can't it come in the timing that I want? That you can also be like, it's going to taste so sweet when I have the things that I want down the line, whenever they come. Right now, I can just know that they're coming, manage my way through the not having, the deprivation, know that it's contributing to the story of the richness and the fulfillingness of having the things that I desire as well. You cannot taste the sweetness sometimes without tasting the sourness when it comes to some things. Sending you so much love, and I appreciate you being here.